each school goes through a certification process. They break it up and have kind of a midway check after 5 years. And we're at that point. We're actually we are the first group to have their third one. Every other institution is behind us. Weber State last year was the last group to have their second one. So we're right in that process. And so
when did this start? When did this process start?
This process actually began for us about 18 months ago. We knew that as part of the certification process, the NCAA will work with us, preparing for a time when they will send a group in, where it's chancellors, presidents, athletic directors, senior women's administrators. They'll come in and review how we're doing on certain items. So the NCAA, in conjunction with our own internal groups of the university, came up with 34 issues, areas that we needed to improve upon towards compliance with the certification to be a part of the NCAA. So they came up with these 34 issues that needed to be identified.
So is this the beginning of a 10-year review, or is this the middle 5-year?
This is the end. This is the end of the 10-year review.
What were the major things that needed to be improved on?
Well, there were 34 items. You know, there were 5 different areas or subcommittees that all of these came out with: academic integrity, gender equity, diversity, governance and rules compliance, and then the final one was student-athlete well-being. So these 34 items came from all of those, and we had to improve upon or make better all of those areas. You know, the whole process, they said that we were approved in 33 of the 34, which is fabulous. We're really excited about that.
I take it, Jeff, that they come out with something for every university that they look at?
There were, at least at this time, at this announcement, there were seven schools that got this. But
I mean, is that out of like 50 or 100? I mean, did they?
Out of 392 NCAA schools.
Right, but you said they only do a certain amount each period, right?
Yeah, each period. So, you know, the period that finished with us, there were 7 schools involved, but there will be, I think 3 or 4 other periods during this year.
Yeah. And
so each school is along that process. You know, as our conference in the Big Sky, each school has a different year. The one item that we weren't approved in came along the lines in gender equity, and it had to do with an item that was one of the goals that was put forth 10 years ago from our gender equity subcommittee here on campus, moving towards better equity. We didn't completely feel that. You know, it's unfortunate that we didn't get all the way there. That one had to do with a recommendation by this peer committee on campus to add 7 sports in 10 years. You know, a little optimistic, I think. We added 2 sports in the last 10 years. But nonetheless, we still need to make progress towards it. We've made good progress, and we're very close, but we're just not there yet.
Right. Well, when you have 3 more women's sports than men's sports, I don't understand why is that an issue.
It has to do with both scholarships and also participation counts. You know, a big skew of that number is football.
Right.
We just don't have a sport that large, and so we need to make up for that. Adding sports to get there. It's hard to say half, but we're about a sport and a half away from complete compliance with gender equity by scholarship numbers and by participation counts. At the moment, you know, one of the things that we decided as a senior staff in the athletic department was to finalize our scholarships. Before this last year, we were at 79 scholarships full scholarships for female sports. We decided in 3 years we were going to add 2 each year, and in 3 years be done with that. So we added 2 brand new scholarships for females this last year. We're at 81. After the next 2 years, we'll be at 85. And we will be maxed out on the number of scholarships that we can give to females without adding another sport. That leads us right into adding another sport.
What would that sport be?
You know, the university is putting together, it's a gender equity focus group. It'll be finalized in the next 2 weeks. That group, which will be which will consist of many different entities on campus and in the community, will discuss and do a survey to find out which sport it is. It's not so much, we look around and think, oh, you know what, University of Utah has this sport, Boise State has this sport. It has more to do with the community. What high school sports are around, what interest there is in Southeast Idaho and Idaho in general, and go to that.
Is there a group of things that you're looking at, or is
There are. Boise State is a little bit ahead of us in this area. They've got slated to add women's lacrosse in the next 3 years. Lacrosse is the fastest growing high school sport in the nation at the moment. It's primarily been an East Coast sport up to this point, but it's moving very quickly to the west. It's very strong in Utah. And
You just don't have it in your high schools, though.
no, we don't have it in the high schools yet, and that's going to be part of that focus group. They need to find out if it's coming close to the high schools, if they're doing it in the clubs, how well introduced it is in other states.
Jeff, how reasonable is it to add a sport when you've spent a few years here getting back into the black and doing all that, and obviously you're looking at adding a sport that's probably not going to generate very much revenue at least at the beginning.
In the time that I've been here, we've seen good things. So my answer would be everything is possible. We were faced with an uphill battle. We had to make up $800,000 3 years ago, and I remember looking at that, speaking with Nancy and Jim and the president, and just thinking, how in the world are we going to do this? And we broke it down into year and monthly amounts and figured out ways that we were going to do it, and we figured it out. It worked for us. It would be the same thing for this. We need to add a sport. We need to provide more opportunities for female students and student athletes, and we'll find a way. It won't be easy, but a lot of it comes with budgeting. A lot of it will come with fundraising, providing those opportunities.
I guess people would ask, is the opposite of that is dropping a men's sport?
Yeah, we don't want to drop a men's sport. No, taking away opportunities to become more equal is not the idea. It's not the route that we want to go.
When you look at, if I'm a member of the community and I see this story come out today, how do you put what is happening today for Idaho State into simple terms for the community? Like, how would you explain that and say this is the gist of what happened today for our program?
The gist of it, very simply, it's a great day for Idaho State. We were passing 33 of our 34 items. It was an uphill battle. It was a little daunting when we started this process 18 months ago, thinking how in the world are we going to accomplish this, and almost got there. That's the frustrating part. We were so close. This gender equity item that we haven't passed is not something that we just found out about. It's something we've been working on consistently for the last few years. Adding a soccer team and a softball team in the last 10 years are part of that. Our current project on Miller Ranch Stadium is part of that. Building 3 new locker rooms for women's sports and re-gym, volleyball, softball, and women's basketball, part of that. Adding 2 new scholarships is part of that. And we've done a few other things within the last 5 years, just, the baby steps. And I use that term a lot, baby steps, but every little step adds up. In the last 5 years, we've added radio coverage for home games for soccer and volleyball. We added graduate assistants to the soccer team, the volleyball team, the women's basketball team. We added an additional assistant to the strength and conditioning area, an additional assistant in the athletic training area, and a graduate assistant. Just those little things are helping us to get a little bit closer. And they're baby steps. They lead to adding full-time assistants and replacing those with graduate assistants, but helping to build up opportunities.